For the last 2 seasons, Arsenal have been the bridesmaid, but not the bride. And I thought last year that might have actually been a bit different because in the transfer window, they were clinical, they were decisive, they didn't really settle for second best. They knew the profile, they knew the players they wanted, and they went out and got them, bringing in the likes of Declan Rice and Kai Havertz. And they really did run it close, but Arsenal were just that off of perfection. We've still seen some rollercoaster decisions having to be made from the sideline with different players being available, coming in and out of form, and a few different bits and pieces. And this transfer window really needs to be the exact same as last summer in terms of quality and, players that really do enhance the best 11 and in turn really lift the floor of the level of the entire squad. And I think they've just about done that with their first capture, their first incoming transfer of the summer in signing Italian international Riccardo Calafiori, who comes into Arsenal to fill a huge defensive problem that they've had for the last 2 seasons, despite, really trying all manners of different options to try and crack that left side of defence kind of jigsaw puzzle. But it now sets Arsenal off in a fantastic trajectory for the remainder of the summer transfer window as they prepare for a 24-25 season where can they become the bride? Can they reclaim the Premier League title this season? In the video today, we'll be looking at what Calafiori does for Arsenal, where he fits into the team, as well as where are the last one or two bits and pieces of the entire puzzle that they're still looking to fit together to make this season as perfect as they possibly can, because the standard that's been set to win the Premier League over the last 5 years requires basically perfection at any point in the video today. But if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and get into the comment section in this one and let me know if you could bring one more player into Arsenal, just one from where we're at right now, who would it be and why? And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, the Arsenal best 11 in the entire squad essentially looks like this from the back end of last season and who's on their books coming into this one. We've seen already an outgoing. It looks like Sambi Lokonga is going to be joining Sevilla. And I think Kiwior has got a few suitors out there, so he could be somebody that could be on his way out. But as you can see already over here, the very first thing that does grab you on the Arsenal depth chart is the left-back situation here, because I was a big fan of Tierney as an Arsenal left back. I thought he's been fantastic, but as you can see over the last couple of seasons, staying fit is a big problem for him. I wouldn't rule him out being like a good guy to, I don't really see anyone coming for him as the main problem, number one. But I wouldn't rule him out being like a guy that could play some League Cups, come on for 20, 30 minutes in some important matches, because he is still of a very high level. Zinchenko was obviously brought in from Man City as well to be that winner, to be that player that can play that position. But I'm pretty sure when Zinchenko did come to Arsenal, he did fancy himself a bit more of a midfielder, which has seen some hot and cold kind of form from him in this kind of inverted fullback situation that Arteta has been trying, and has become a bit of a fad across European football. But what kind of happened towards the back end of last year is we've seen more like the Tomiyasu, Kiwior kind of dynamic coming in, where it's more of a centre back and left back, kind of similar to what we see with Ben White and Timber, what he'll do in this position here in right back. Now, although Ben White can get quite high up into the pitch, he can put deliveries into the box, he is much more of a centre back's right back, as it were. And I think Calafiori coming into this left back position for Arsenal is going to really, like, this whole back four now is a back four of titans, over the last kind of, I'd probably say 5 or 6 years across European football, but especially the Premier League. Like, the fullbacks, there's some fantastic ones out there that are really like attacking, bombastic, overlapping fullbacks that really do get into the nosebleeds, and Arsenal were really close to signing, maybe they still will, Ryan Ait-Nouri, for example, and we've seen the likes of Jeremy Frimpong grab a lot of headlines across Europe with his performances for Leverkusen. But the converse, the alternative to that we're seeing a lot of clubs taking, a little bit similar to Pep at Man City, is just going for more the big centre-back approach. And even though these guys will get into higher areas of the pitch, they do need to have a good range of passing. They're not going to be an attacking outlet. They're not going to be somebody that you need for width in the squad, or you need someone to be overlapping and creating space and chances with. They're more a player that will hold that defensive line and really squeeze the opposition right all the way back, because Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes for me are probably borderline unmovable. I think Saliba and Gab Mag, maybe they've got some different bits and pieces going on, some links, maybe not everyone's totally sold on them or whatever, but when you marry that up with Calafiori on the left hand side and Ben White here on the right hand side, or Timber if he was to evolve into being Because Timber is definitely known from Holland as having that range of passing that we're expecting Calafiori to bring in here. And I know that maybe some of you are watching this video already and thinking, hold on, I thought this guy was a centre-back. And over the last season or so at Bologna, he basically has been a left-back, left side of centre-back, of course, and we've seen a huge, Calafiori from left centre-back has played some amazing assists this year, some massive long diagonals that have resulted in some proper golazzos. And he's not been shy of finding the back of the net either. As you can see with his ratings out of 100 for the last two very important games, massive 6-pointers trying to secure Champions League football for Bologna, grabbing 100 out of 100 score with one of those long-ranging assists and a couple of goals there. But he's a guy that at centre-back is really a big Rolls-Royce kind of guy, a guy that wasn't scared to maybe take some higher yards up the pitch and really ask the opposition some key problems in midfield, which then allows some really good balls to be played either directly into the forward line, guys like Xerxes and Ferguson or whatever, or out into the wide areas for guys like Salamakers and Orsolini, depending on if it's a diag or if it's holding down the same line. So yeah, you're dead on. He is a centre-back at the moment. It's the main kind of position we've seen him play at Bologna as they finished 4th in Serie A this year. But if we look over his entire career and we look at when he has played more in these left-back, left wing-back positions across all the clubs that he's played for, Basel, Roma, and of course Bologna, you can see this guy is pretty prolific at playing at left back. And yeah, when you see it as predominantly Basel, you might think, all right, okay, well, it was the Swiss league, it is a massive level down. But this is something that gave me a bit of deja vu around like Christopher Ayer. And I know he's not like a world-class player potentially like Calafiori is, but he was playing like right back for Celtic. And then when he moved to the Prem, you've got to think, oh, he was probably playing centre back. But he still played right back at the Prem, and I just thought he was mainly able to do that, of course, because the Scottish League is quite a level down from the Premier League, for example. So I wouldn't rule out, this experience giving him the basis, the foundation to be able to play very successfully in this position here. I don't see him coming in to replace Gabriel Magalhaes or Saliba. Maybe that will happen in time if one of them was to leave the club. But I do think his first action is to be the Maldini in this team. Dare I say that out loud? But really hold a strong defensive line here that if these guys do push up a little bit higher, it allows the midfielders a bit more freedom and a little bit more time and space, much higher up the pitch to be able to make much more incisive passes. And in those games for Arsenal where it was like do or die, make or break, if you check out some of the videos we've been doing on Arsenal on the channel, left back, the full back areas, and the left attacking forward, certainly, these are areas that kept on coming up short throughout the season in terms of just really hitting the heights of the rest of the team or keeping consistency, because like we can see with Hteir, Zinchenko and Tomiyasu when he was over in this area here, they've had a few different players roll into that position. And one of the things that Arsenal really do have going for them at the moment is that they do have a really good best 11 in the making here, where you really do know what the best team is and subsequently their style of play as a result. And I think that's why we've seen close to perfection from Arsenal so far. And I think the Calafiori transfer, particularly if he does come into left back, like I suspect, and is kind of reported as well, I don't think this is too left field, pardon the pun, from what most people are kind of saying out there. But I do think initially people did think maybe Saliba or Gab Mag might have been at risk here. But the two big areas I've still got to address is the engine room and the base of midfield and defensive mid. Now, I know Partey kind of does the job pretty well, and I think for the most part, whenever we do see Partey play for Arsenal, you see Arsenal get a bit better in some respects. And Jorginho kind of had a funny season last year. I'm not his biggest fan. I'd probably be more of a critic of Jorginho than anything. So I don't think he's quite the guy either. Fabio Vieira, who we've seen do very well whenever he come in spells, does kind of signal the fact that we do want to see, or Arsenal want to see, attacking midfielders that can get in between the wide forwards and whoever the centre forward is and get into the box and play passes into the box as well. So with that in mind, that they're going to have two guys trying to roam and attack, I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen Havertz maybe play a little bit more midfield next year. But with him playing false nine for Germany, I think most people expect he's maybe going to retain this spot a little bit more. But this engine room situation here is one that I think that Arsenal do miss, having a guy of the level of Rice, of Odegaard, Saka. And the defence now really is close to impeccable. They've really got two to a position, really, and all sorts of different players you would like. Maybe once Hteir goes, that feels a little bit thinner. But this defensive midfield, the base of midfield that's going to allow them to play forward, I think is still under construction. It's still something they need to address. And there's a few players that have just made big moves that Arsenal might have been looking at. Douglas Luiz being the number one that springs to mind. And they've been often linked to Zubimendi over at Real Sociedad. And I think he's a player that stylistically fits the profile pretty well for what they need. I'm just not too convinced on him if he's got the level in him to come into this Arsenal team and help level it up. If Arsenal were mad serious, I don't know why they're not trying to pursue Joshua Kimmich a little bit harder, because he is the guy that would fit into this midfield and just bring it all together. And between Jesus, I think Nketiah's maybe ran his race for Arsenal as well. We'll maybe see him leave. But between Jesus and Havertz, I think you've got to imagine that it's hard to imagine that Arsenal spend really big in the Arrowhead centre position here. And it is maybe someone more who can, I know Martinelli's played on the right as well. Maybe Reece Nelson goes back out again. Same with Emil Smith-Rowe. But I think this left attacking position here is one of the big ones that they'll be looking at still. And again, a lot of the links are to somebody like Pedro Neto. And again, similar to Zubimendi, I've watched enough of these guys. I do think that they're very, very good. But Pedro Neto feels more like the Trossard kind of move. But it's just like a really good top-end Premier League signing. But, sure, enough of them. You get them into a big squad, you're kind of doing a bit of the Bayern Munichs or whatever. But I think for the level Arsenal are almost achieving here with so many of the positions they've got, I would like to see them, get a Calafiori level left attacker, left winger, however you want to think of it as well as whoever they do get in the engine room. But this is the level Arsenal have got to now, where it is really one or two more moves, and the team does feel as close to well balanced and as close to perfection as they're likely to get it in preparation the 24-25 season. And like I say, for the last 2 years, Arsenal have been the bridesmaids and not the brides. Have been so close. And for me, I'm 36. I shudder to say out loud. But for me, growing up, Arsenal were one of the first football teams that made you love watching attacking football. And a big part of that for me is Robert Pires and one or two others. And without Arsenal having I know Saka's great on the right, and we've spoke about players in other positions, but Pires, Henry, Wiltord, there's always been somebody that really scores high levels of goals from the Arsenal wide areas, and I know Saka's got some of those numbers, but that's the sort of guy I think they should be looking to bring in from around Europe or around world football, depending on how far they're looking, to try and push this team attacking-wise over the top. So it's a really exciting start to the transfer window for Arsenal. On screen now, guys, is some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this one, of course, guys. Don't forget to get into the comment section. Let me know if I've missed something, if I've overlooked something or whatever, as well as who do you think, or who would your one more player for Arsenal to be brought in? Who would it be? What position would they be? Let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.